Hey, good morning, everyone. How are you this morning? It's 3:30 in the morning, and it's February 7th. I hope you guys got a beautiful 2020 ahead of you. So far, everything's looking good. Uh, I'd like to talk about a couple things this morning that's on my mind while it's fresh. Uh, Yesterday, my internet went out, of course, and I had to call my provider, which is Charter Spectrum, and I finally come up to a conclusion what's going on. And I'm going to explain all this to you so you guys can maybe follow my footsteps and cut through all the rigmarole and the chase and all the waiting online for your provider to get a person online and all that stuff. It's real simple to get back up and running again on your own, and I'm going to go through all that at the beginning of this after I get done with my intro here. I also have another segment I'm going to put at the end. For those of you that watched last week's video, it was on the Winterfest in Lake Geneva. I wasn't able to cover everything that went on down there except for the snow sculpting, and that was my prime target. And I was lucky. I was able to get there Saturday morning early, about 5:30 in the morning, and I caught a lot of snow sculpting going on at the time. So you get a chance to look at the guys working, and a lot of you are going to ask, well, who won the contest? Well, I'm going to tell you who won the contest at the end of this video. All right, so let's get into this problem that we all have with the high-speed internet, with the streaming problems that people are having. I know I'm having them, and I'm getting a little bit frustrated with it. I'm not to the point where I'm ready to have smoke come out of my ears, but some people can go to the extremes. But anyways, it's real easy to fix. All right, first of all, on streaming, how many of you guys are noticing that after about 30 days or so, maybe a lot of you don't have any problem at all if you own your own router. Okay, first of all, let's get to the first part of it. Some of you may not know what's involved with streaming, and also what it takes to run all your computers in your household. If you have a lot of devices and then you got people coming over the house and you want to use your high-speed internet, you have to have a wireless router. And you can buy a wireless router or you can rent them from your provider. I rent mine from a provider for one reason, and that's so that I don't have to fool around with the technology and finding out what to do to make it work all the time, because there's always a problem. So they come out, and sometimes only the next day they come out and make an appointment. They tell you they're going to be there and blah, 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 if there is a problem. But most of the time they can do it over the phone and reset your router. And it usually works if you follow their steps. But why is this happening? I'm going to tell you why I think it's happening. What happens is that if you have Netflix and Hulu and YouTube, those are your three primary ones. I forgot to say Amazon with the Fire Stick. Some of you may have Amazon with the Fire Stick. All right. Those are the brain boxes that go on each TV. You plug them in and they hang and they're wireless. And they got to depend on your router to feed the signal for streaming. Okay, when you do that wireless, unless you got a really good router, your bandwidth's going to drop. And when you rent your devices from, like I do, from Charter Spectrum, them units are very inexpensive. There's no antennas on them whatsoever. And that's a defect right off the bat. They buy those things in quantity by the millions because they've got so many customers, they got to get a good price on them, so they keep the cost down. Well, they're a get by unit. It gets you by, but here's what happens to the cheaper routers. What happens is that they build a memory in the system. It's either the router or the modem, one of the two. I can't put my finger on it, but it collects data every time you flip to a new channel or a new video. Like in YouTube, you're constantly using your remote and you're flipping back and forth, and you're going from one channel to the next. And every time you do that, what happens is either the router or the modem collects all this data and stores it in them units, and then it gets bottlenecked. And then when it gets bottlenecked, your signal starts dropping. Your wireless just deteriorates. And then what you got to do to overcome that is you usually panic, and then you call your provider. You say, hey, listen, I don't have internet. It's giving me problems. I got a bad signal. Yet when I do a bandwidth test on my computer, it's showing 200 megs, which that's what you're supposed to have. And then they'll tell you, well, everything looks good on our end. You're getting a beautiful signal, you know. But what they're not telling you is that your cheap router and your cheap modem is collecting all this data from flipping back and forth to channels, and it's building memory, and it's bottlenecking everything up. So you got to refresh it. So in order to refresh it, you got to unplug the modem, and then let that sit for 3 minutes, and then do the same thing with your router. Unplug that, let it sit for 3 minutes, okay? Or let it sit for 10 minutes. I don't care what it is, but a minimum of 3 minutes. All right, then you go back. The first thing you do, and if you have trouble following me, what I'm saying, you can always go back, rewind the video, and watch it over. You plug in your modem first. Okay, you got to know which is the modem and which is the router. The router is going to be where all the Ethernet cables are plugged in. You have many cables plugged in. The modem will not have that many plugs. It'll have the power source, and it'll have one Ethernet connector that goes out, and it feeds one computer. That's all it's designed for. If you want to have multiple units on it, you have to order a router from Charter Spectrum, and you pay rent on that piece of equipment. And if you got multiple computers and you want to hardwire everything, you can do that, which I do. All right, so we got that covered. You got a modem and a router. Right, they're unplugged. Right, so now what you do is you plug in your modem, and you wait for all the lights to light up until they stay on. Except you're going to have one light that's going to be flashing. What that one light is flashing is it's looking for the router. You don't have the router plugged in yet. Now what you do is you plug the router in. Wait for all the lights to flash on that. And then you look at the modem, and you'll notice that last light will stay lit. It means it made contact with the router, and then the router and the modem is good to go. You're clean slate now. Now you go back to your TV and turn it on, and guess what's going to happen? You're going to have a beautiful signal because you refreshed everything. Why this happens, I do not know, and Charter Spectrum needs to fix it. Either they need to buy better equipment, supply better equipment, or figure out what's causing this problem. Because in my case, I got them out here every month. Not so much got them out here, but I got them on the phone. And that's what they have me do. So I come to the conclusion, and it took me a while to figure it out. And I says, there's got to be a reason why this is doing this. And I come to the conclusion that it's just the same thing as a computer. It's building up a bottleneck by all the data that you're feeding it. Every time you click to a different show, a different channel, such as YouTube, you got Netflix, and then you got Hulu, and Amazon. I'm not saying you got them all, but a lot of you guys got one of the ones I mentioned. Some of you may have 2 units. Now Hulu has to run through a device also, and Hulu runs through Roku. So if you buy a Roku stick that you plug into your computer, you can get Hulu through that Roku, and you can subscribe to Hulu, and then you get your provider, Hulu's provider. You pay so much a month and you got it going. That's how you get Hulu. Hulu does not have a stick that plugs in the back. You have to go through the Roku stick or Amazon's Fire Stick. Those are the only 2 sticks that I know that go in the back of your TV sets. And you got to have one for each TV. If you got 3 TV sets in your home, you may have one that's private for the husband, and you might have one private for the wife. And if you have children, you may have one in each of their bedrooms. I know I don't do all that stuff, but I am a YouTuber, so I do have a lot of different computers in my home, and I also have 2 TVs, one in the living room and one in my bedroom. So everything's hardwired, but the Roku has to work off of the wireless service, and that's where the problem comes in. And the Roku stick that I have controls all the streaming. So what I have done is we've done some spot checking, and my brother came out and he was able to do a bandwidth sweep on what I'm getting off my TV set as a wireless, and he found out that we're only getting 50 megs out of 200. And that's because there's a computer running, and then also we got the TV running. We did a spot check. Now when he walked away from the TV, he did another bandwidth sweep, and it dropped considerably. It dropped considerably a lot more. And then he came into the computer room. He says, "We're going to do a bandwidth sweep directly hardwired and see what we get." And as soon as we did that, we ended up with 200 megs, like it's supposed to, because it's hardwired to the computers. So there's no problem there. All right. So we covered all the grounds there. So you know what to do. Feel free to, if you're having trouble following what I said, some of you people might know and experienced this and done everything I told you to do already, but there's a lot of you guys that don't know what to do, and you're constantly calling your provider, and you're thinking that they have to reset it through when you call them. Basically what they're doing is they're training you how to set it yourself. So you don't need to call them every time this happens. You just simply do it yourself, learn how to do it. Like I said, unplug it, replug it in, and then refresh the whole system. And that usually works with no problem. There is an issue with Roku though. Once in a while you may have to put in your username and password and go through all that bother on each TV if you refresh the system. But I found out that that isn't always true. Yesterday when I did it, I refreshed the system and turned the TV on, and everything worked fine. It had a beautiful connection, everything was crystal clear, everything worked. So, alright, this is getting to be too long of a video. I still got to put on the recap of who won the snow sculptures so you guys know. And I haven't figured out a title for this yet, but I will give a title so it'll actually tell you it's about trouble with your streaming capabilities, and also to have the snow sculpture on. I'll figure out some kind of title that will work so that it gets your attention on both topics. So it's early in the morning. I got a scratchy voice. I'm sorry about that. Couldn't sleep as normal. I have sleep apnea, and there's a lot of people that got that. And I average about 3 hours per day for the last year on sleeping. So that's another topic I can talk about someday. So, anyways, let's get on with the results of the snow sculpture, and we'll take a look at that, and I'll show you who won. All right, let's go. Okay, you guys are ready? Here we go. This was voted upon on People's Choice, and that's the system they work down there in Lake Geneva. They take where you can vote on one that you think is going to win, and this particular one was done with People's Choice, and it was my choice also. This was done by Glenn Woodard and John Woodard and Jeff Brown, and I thought it was a fabulous piece. It was very three-dimensional. I stood there and stared at that for the longest time, and I thought to myself, this one's going to win. I really believe this is going to win. And I was amazed. I mean, the People's Choice voted it in as a win, but it did not win. Okay, we're going to get into the next one here, and we're coming up right now from Vermont. In Vermont, this was voted by the judges as the winner, and as you can see their names on the sign, and I'll read them back to you. Katie Rundy, Tony Perham, and Muggsy Logan. That's the three that created this beautiful piece of art with snow, and it's a cow wrapped around what I believe is a hunk of cheese, maybe. I don't know what that ball is. I can't put my finger on it to tell you what that creation is in front of it, but you can see the cow is plain as day. They did an awesome job on it. The detail is great. So that's the winner from the judges. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to go back in my last videos. There's 3 videos I'd like to have you watch. The first one, of course, is getting there too early, and I made a mistake, and I explained everything on that one. And then the other 2 videos is showing the sculptures and walking around and doing the ice sculptures in downtown Lake Geneva. So guys, feel free to subscribe to my channel. You're more than welcome to. I appreciate it if you would. Hit that bell so you get notifications. Hit the thumbs up. I appreciate that. And also leave comments. I do get to the comments eventually. It takes me time. But I do get to them and answer them. So thank you so much. Well, I've got one thing to add here before I close out the video. Just so you're wondering where I got the information on winners. I had called that place right there. It's the Geneva Information Center, or the Visitor Center, and they had told me the winners of the snow sculptures, and it was really nice of them to do so. You can find it on the internet with a lot of digging. It's kind of hard. I tried it, and I had a lot of problems finding it. I couldn't even find it, who the winners were. But the easiest way is I just called up the visitor center, and they gave me all the information I needed. So thanks guys for watching, and we'll see you on the next video. Alright, you guys have a great 2020 and have a nice day, and God bless.